Hi everyone, my name is Marcos Casiano, and I'm here to tell you about my Tales from the Road. All of my adventures, some of my adventures, traveling the highways and byways of the US and Canada, but never Mexico. Okay, so this next adventure actually takes place on a highway. Okay, back in the day, as they say, when they say back in the day, it usually means a long time ago. I was living in Huntsville, Alabama, and I was doing a house gig at the Huntsville Hilton. Now, I ended up in Huntsville because I was playing with, and at this time I still was with, a Nashville band. And it's like the Steve Best Show. We weren't famous or anything like that. But we had come to Huntsville, Alabama, and we had actually got a house gig there. And the house gig actually lasted 3 years. I was there only for 2 years. But every now and then, because house gigs can be pretty grueling night after night, you're playing 5 nights a week. So sometimes you just need a change. So the leader of our band, Steve Best, he was also a booking agent. So every now and then, we would take a break from our house gig at the Huntsville Hilton, and he would book some gigs somewhere else, and he would bring in another band, one of the bands that he was booking, and they would fill in for us for a week, maybe two. I don't remember if we were ever gone for 2 weeks. But on this particular gig, we were going to play at the Nashville Palace. It was off of Briley Parkway in Nashville, and of course, Steve, we were originally from Nashville. Steve was still from there. But at this time, the guitar player and I, we had basically just kind of moved to Huntsville. And I enjoyed living in Huntsville a lot, and I ended up working a lot in Huntsville. So we're going to the Nashville Palace, and I pick up the guitar player, Brian Bell. He needed a ride. Go figure. So anyways, I had a station wagon at the time, so I had my drums in there. I pick up Brian, we put his amp, we put his guitar in my station wagon, my trusty Oldsmobile, and we head out to go to the Nashville Palace. So, you go out of Huntsville, you go to Ardmore, Tennessee, where you pick up I-65, Interstate I-65. So as soon as we get on the interstate, we were just a few miles into the interstate. The traffic was stopped. The state troopers had stopped the traffic on both sides of the interstate, because there was a horrific wreck. We could see that there was a car, maybe like a 2-car crash. And so what they were waiting for was for a medevac, a helicopter, to come to pick up the victims. So, man, we're thinking, man, this is really, really terrible. And so I get out of the car. There was only one car in front of me, so we had gotten there pretty quickly. So the one car in front of me, the guy gets out of his car, Brian and I get out of our car, and I'm just kind of looking around thinking, man, this is terrible. So I'm looking at the guy in front of me, and I said, that's George Jones. So I tell Brian, I said, Brian, isn't that George Jones? And Brian looks over and he goes, George, is that you? And he waves at us, and he walks over to us, and he starts talking to us. And he was just like very, very, very friendly, very personal, just like, hey, what are you guys doing here? It's a terrible wreck, whatever. And he asked us what we were doing, and we tell him, oh, we're musicians. We're on our way to Nashville. We're going to do a gig at the Nashville Palace. And I'm sure you knew about the Nashville Palace. And I said, we work for a guy named Steve Best. His mother was Tootsie from Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. I believe that bar is still there on Broadway. I'm not sure. But it was kind of a famous bar in that day. So Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, so we were working for her son, Steve. So he knew about Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, because there was a passageway from the Grand Ole Opry, when the Grand Ole Opry was downtown, to Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, and the stars would go through this passageway and have a couple of drinks before they went on or as they came off. So we talked to George, and again, he's real nice. And I had at the time, I had a little daily planner, you might say, that I got from Winkler's Drum Shop in Madison, Tennessee. And I got one every year, and it was great because I could put my dates that I'm working, and actually I would always put down how much I spent on food. So I get my little book out of the car. I have a pen, because I always had a pen with it, and I said, George, can I have your autograph? Oh yeah, no problem. So George signs my little book, George Jones, and he goes back to his car. And we leave. But I remember what was interesting was I remember looking at the car. It was like a Chevrolet. It wasn't anything fancy. It was a Chevrolet, and it had Birmingham, Alabama tags on it. I thought that was interesting because I used to actually, when I lived in Nashville, I used to see George, not all the time, but several times I saw George putting around the downtown area around West End and Demonbreun Street. I used to see him. He had a little, like, I think it was a green Mercedes. It was a small one where only two people could fit in it, and you could tell because he had that hairstyle that was real distinct. So that's my story of this one. Takes place on a highway and byway, I-65. We ran into George Jones, and you know, he was very nice, and we go to Nashville and do our job and do our little gig, and you know, the fun continue and the tales will continue. Anyways, thanks for watching, and everybody, and God bless. Bye bye.